Some RPGs are meant to entertain you. Others are meant to test you. The PlayStation era was full of games that didn't hold your hand, didn't care if you got lost, and punished every mistake. But that's exactly what made them unforgettable. These are the RPGs that demanded patience, precision, and perseverance. The kind that made you put down the controller in frustration, only to pick it back up 5 minutes later because you had to see what was next. From brutal dungeons to merciless combat systems and stories that never flinched, these are some PS1 RPGs that are really hard, and why we still love them for it. If you end up liking the content, please subscribe for more, and I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down below. Love to hear it. Before Dark Souls became a phenomenon, King's Field was quietly terrifying players on the PS1. Released in 1995 by From Software, it was one of the earliest first-person RPGs ever made, and one of the hardest. Not just challenging in a fun way, but brutally punishing, methodical, and deeply atmospheric. Every step felt like danger, every enemy a potential death sentence. It was the kind of game that didn't just test your reflexes, it tested your patience. You begin with nothing but a sword and a flickering torch in a desolate kingdom. There's no tutorial, no map, and no guidance. You move at a crawl, attacks take a full second to wind up, and enemies hit like freight trains. Even the first skeleton you encounter can kill you if you aren't careful. But that's what made King's Field so brilliant. It demanded respect. Every inch of progress was earned through observation, caution, and raw determination. The labyrinthian world was interconnected and fully 3D. A technical marvel in 1995. Corridors wound into caverns, secret doors led to shortcuts, and cryptic notes hinted at dangers ahead. It was slow, yes, but intentionally so. The pacing created tension and dread, turning exploration into psychological warfare. Every torchlit hallway felt like a victory, every healing herb a blessing. Mechanically, it laid the foundation for the Souls formula years before it existed. Limited resources, cryptic storytelling, environmental lore, and the omnipresent fear of losing everything you've earned. The sound design, echoing footsteps, howling wind, groaning beasts, added a sense of isolation that no orchestral score could replicate. It wasn't for everyone then, and it isn't now. But for those who pushed through, King's Field offered something extraordinary. A sense of survival so raw and deliberate that every triumph felt sacred. It was more than hard, it was honest. And then there's Shadow Tower, the game that feels like staring into the abyss and having it stare back. It's one of the hardest, most oppressive RPGs ever made. Not just on the PS1, but in gaming history. If King's Field was a nightmare, this is the void that comes after waking. It strips away every comfort, every piece of guidance, and leaves you alone in a world that hates you. It's not just difficult, it's existential. You descend through a cursed tower in first person, floor by floor, fighting grotesque monsters and scavenging what little remains of civilization. There's no map, no music, and almost no light. Weapons break, armor corrodes, and healing items are limited. Every choice carries risk. Every swing of your weapon drains stamina, and every new area feels like a trap waiting to happen. The air itself feels poisonous, but that's what makes it mesmerizing. The difficulty isn't random. The tower exists to crush your confidence, forcing you to learn its logic through repetition and observation. You'll die dozens of times before realizing how enemies move, where traps are hidden, or which areas loop back into one another. Each victory feels like an act of defiance. What sets it apart is its oppressive silence. There's no triumphant soundtrack, no comforting narration, just the sound of your footsteps echoing through emptiness. That loneliness becomes part of the challenge, wearing down your nerves as much as your health bar. Even the visual design feels punishing. Dim, grainy corridors filled with nightmare creatures rendered in muted tones. Yet for all its cruelty, there's a strange beauty in its honesty. Every inch of progress feels sacred, every shortcut a revelation. The deeper you go, the more the game rewards knowledge, patience, and courage. It's not just a hard RPG. It's the essence of hard RPGs, the kind of experience that scars you a little, teaches you a lot and makes every modern challenge feel tame by comparison. Before Persona 3 and 5 turned the series into modern icons, the original Persona was a labyrinthian, intimidating beast. It blended dungeon crawling, psychological horror, and social simulation into something wildly ambitious and brutally complex. It's one of those games where simply understanding the systems feels like part of the challenge. At its core, Persona is about high school students who can summon manifestations of their psyche to battle otherworldly creatures. But the mechanics surrounding that concept are dense. The battle system uses a grid-based layout where position determines range and effectiveness, meaning careless movement can ruin a fight before it begins. And enemies don't just attack, they negotiate. You can talk to demons mid-battle, trying to bribe, flatter, or threaten them into giving you items or joining your cause. It's clever, unpredictable, and easy to screw up if you don't understand their personalities. Then comes Fusion, one of the most complex systems of its time. You can combine demons to create new personas, but the results depend on dozens of factors: alignment, mood, items, and random chance. The game never spells any of this out, forcing players to experiment or fail repeatedly until they figure it out. Even navigation is a challenge. The early game dungeons are massive first-person mazes filled with random encounters and traps. There's no auto map, no modern conveniences, just your wits and patience. One wrong turn can mean wandering lost for an hour or walking straight into a boss you're not remotely ready for. And yet, for all its cruelty, Persona is fascinating. Its difficulty isn't just mechanical, it's psychological. The game mirrors its themes of self-discovery and fear through its design, making you earn every revelation. It's not hard because it's unfair, it's hard because it's honest. If Final Fantasy was about polish and storytelling, Saga Frontier was about chaos and experimentation. Released by Square in 1997, it's one of the most unconventional and difficult to grasp RPGs ever made on the PS1. Instead of a single narrative, it features 7 different protagonists, each with unique worlds, mechanics, and storylines. That freedom sounds thrilling, but it also makes the game brutally opaque. It doesn't tell you what to do. It expects you to discover everything yourself. Each character plays differently. One might rely on martial arts, another on technology, and another on monster transformations. Even the systems shift. Learning new abilities happens through glimmers, random moments in battle when a character suddenly remembers a technique, forcing players to experiment constantly. Weapons break, magic types evolve, and even basic party structure changes depending on who you're playing. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes punishing, but also endlessly fascinating. The game's open-world approach was years ahead of its time. You can travel almost anywhere from the start, tackling storylines in any order, or accidentally skipping entire arcs. There are no quest markers, no clear instructions, and often no way to tell if you're strong enough for the next encounter. But that's the point. This game rewards curiosity and punishes complacency. Its visual design was just as eccentric, colorful, surreal, and bursting with creative energy. Backgrounds were hand-painted, and battles were fast-paced spectacles of light and movement. Combine that with a legendary Kenji Ito soundtrack, and you get a game that feels equal parts dream and labyrinth. Saga Frontier is one of those games that frustrates as much as it fascinates, but its brilliance lies in its refusal to simplify. It's an RPG that values experimentation over explanation, a true challenge for players who crave freedom over guidance. Vagrant's story may look elegant and cinematic, but beneath its beauty lies one of the most complex, demanding RPG systems of its generation. Released by Square in 2000, it was both a technical masterpiece and a mechanical labyrinth, a game that expected you to learn, adapt, and think several steps ahead. It's not just hard because enemies hit hard, it's hard because it refuses to explain itself. And that's exactly what makes it so compelling. You play as an elite agent investigating a conspiracy in the haunted city of Leamond. The game's battle system revolves around weapon crafting, chaining attacks, and exploiting enemy weaknesses. It sounds simple until you realize how deep it goes. weapons degrade, affinities change based on what you hit, and combos require precise timing to maintain. Mastering it demands patience and experimentation. It's part action game, part rhythm test, part RPG science project. Then there's the equipment system, which feels almost alchemical. Every material and component can be combined, reforged, or modified, leading to hundreds of possible outcomes. The game never holds your hand, and you can easily make mistakes that cripple your effectiveness for hours. But when you finally master its language, Vagrant's story transforms into something transcendent, a clockwork masterpiece of systems working in perfect, brutal harmony. Even the dungeons are puzzles. Doors, switches, and traps interlock like gears, forcing you to think spatially while juggling combat complexity. There's no overworld, no easy respite, just relentless, oppressive design that makes every room feel like a test of willpower. But the difficulty serves a purpose. It mirrors your descent into obsession and control. The game isn't hard just to be cruel. It's hard because it wants you to feel that control slipping through your hands. And that's what makes it genius. Valkyrie Profile isn't just hard, it's demanding. It redefined what an RPG could ask of its players. Instead of guiding you through a traditional quest, it gave you a countdown to the end of the world and told you to make the most of it. That pressure, combined with its complex combat, obscure systems, and moral choices, makes it one of the most challenging yet rewarding RPGs ever to grace the PS1. Each dungeon you explore, each event you trigger, every warrior you recruit, it all costs precious time. There's no perfect route, no easy answers, and almost no hand-holding. You're constantly forced to choose between efficiency and exploration, between compassion and divine duty. Combat is just as intricate. Each of your 4 characters is mapped to a face button, meaning timing and coordination matter as much as strategy. Attacks chain together in real time, and combos can trigger cinematic finishers that feel incredibly satisfying if you've mastered the rhythm. The system rewards precision, not button mashing. And because you can recruit dozens of Einherjar with unique stats and abilities, optimizing your team becomes a delicate balancing act between power, synergy, and narrative consequence. To make things even more brutal, many of the game's most important mechanics, like how to reach the best ending, are never explained. You have to read between the lines, piece together clues, and rely on intuition. Even minor mistakes can lock you out of content, and some of the hardest fights are hidden behind layers of secrets. Yet all this difficulty serves a purpose. Valkyrie Profile isn't punishing for punishment's sake. It's about weight and consequence. It makes you feel the burden of your choices, the fleeting nature of time, and the loneliness of divinity. It's a game where failure feels poetic, not frustrating. Every victory feels earned, every loss inevitable. It's not just one of the hardest PS1 RPGs, it's one of the most profound. Final Fantasy Tactics was controlled, methodical, and ruthless. Released in 1997, it remains one of the most intellectually demanding RPGs ever made. Beneath its elegant exterior lies a game of pure strategy, political intrigue, and relentless difficulty. Every decision matters. Every mistake costs dearly. Set in the war-torn kingdom of Ivalice, Tactics blends chess-like precision with RPG progression. Positioning, terrain height, and job combinations all interact in ways that make even early battles lethal if you're careless. A single misplaced step can leave a healer exposed or a knight flanked, and recovering from a tactical blunder often feels impossible. Enemies don't scale gently. They adapt, forcing you to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. The game's job system is where the brilliance and brutality lies. Characters can mix and match abilities from dozens of classes, squires, monks, summoners, ninjas, and the combinations are staggering. But mastering them takes patience, grinding, and planning. You might spend hours perfecting a strategy, only to have one miscast spell destroy your formation. It's demanding, but endlessly rewarding. Visually, it was minimalist but striking. The isometric battlefields, hand-drawn textures, and delicate lighting gave every encounter a sense of depth and realism. And the story was full of betrayal, sacrifice, and moral ambiguity. It wasn't just a hard game. It was a serious one. The true challenge, though, isn't the combat. It's the clarity. The game barely explains its own rules, leaving you to discover hidden mechanics through failure. But once you understand its rhythm, Final Fantasy Tactics becomes pure tactical poetry. It's difficult, uncompromising, and timeless. A game that doesn't just test your skill, but your patience, intellect, and discipline. If Zelda tested your reflexes, Alundra tested your resolve. This action RPG looked deceptively lighthearted, a bright 2D adventure about a boy entering people's dreams. But beneath that colorful surface lies one of the most challenging, complex, and emotionally devastating games on the PS1. It doesn't just challenge your skill. It challenges your patience, empathy, and problem-solving ability on every level. From the very first dungeon, it's clear this isn't a simple adventure. The puzzles are brutally clever, requiring spatial reasoning, timing, and observation far beyond what most games of its era demanded. You'll push blocks, flip switches, and manipulate moving platforms across multiple rooms, all while dodging traps and enemies. There's no mercy for mistakes. Mess up one step, and you'll have to restart the entire puzzle. These aren't just filler challenges. They're intricate, interconnected riddles that can take hours to solve. Combat, too, is deceptively punishing. Enemies hit hard, movement is weighty, and health is scarce. Bosses often combine mechanical puzzles with intense reflex tests, demanding both brain and brawn in equal measure. Even simple enemies can kill you if you underestimate them. But it's not cheap difficulty, it's intentional. Every challenge feels designed to test your focus and resilience. Yet the real gut punch comes from a story. What begins as a whimsical adventure quickly turns into a meditation on faith, loss, and despair. Villagers you grow attached to die tragically. Dreams become nightmares, and your successes often come at terrible cost. Visually, it is a masterpiece of 2D art, lush pixel environments, fluid animation, and rich, expressive character designs. The soundtrack mirrors the emotional weight perfectly, haunting and beautiful in equal measure. It's not just one of the hardest PS1 RPGs, it's one of the most important. Alundra proved that difficulty can carry meaning. Released in 1998 by Contrail and Sony, Legend of Legaia is one of those PS1 RPGs that seems simple at first glance. Traditional turn-based combat, a world in peril, monsters to fight, but then blindsides you with a system so demanding and technical that it becomes a test of endurance. Every battle is a mini war of attrition, where every choice counts and every mistake can drag you into ruin. At the heart of its challenge is the tactical arts system, a brilliant twist on traditional turn-based fighting. Instead of just selecting attack, you input directional commands to string together combos. Certain sequences unleash powerful arts, cinematic finishers that cost spirit points but can devastate foes. The catch? You have to discover these combos yourself. The game gives you almost no hints, meaning the only way to learn them is through experimentation or sheer luck. And then there's the Seru system, creatures that can be equipped like magical armor to grant abilities. Each character can bond with different Seru, but acquiring them requires capturing their essence in battle, and the success rate is brutally low. It turns even random encounters into tense, high-stakes affairs where every turn could make or break your progress. Resource management is another layer of the challenge. Healing items are scarce, MP drains quickly, and gold is painfully hard to earn. Grinding helps, but enemies scale harshly, forcing you to fight smarter, not longer. You learn to anticipate attack patterns, conserve spirit, and use art strategically instead of spamming your strongest move. Despite its difficulty, this rewards patience with one of the most satisfying combat systems on the PS1. Every combo you discover feels like solving a riddle. It's the kind of game that teaches you discipline. The more you give, the more it gives back. Legend of Legaia doesn't hand you victory. It demands that you earn every inch of it. And when you finally master it, few RPGs feel as rewarding. If there's one PS1 RPG that tests your patience as much as your skill, it's Dragon Quest VII. Released in 2000, it's an enormous, old-school epic that demands hundreds of hours from players who are willing to commit and punishes anyone who isn't. Where most RPGs take 30 or 40 hours to finish, this laughs and says, that's the tutorial. It's not hard in the traditional sense of brutal combat. It's hard because it's relentless. It's a test of willpower, focus, and endurance. A pilgrimage through one of the longest, most methodical adventures ever built. The story starts deceptively small. You're a young fisherman on a seemingly isolated island, until one day you discover ancient ruins that let you travel to lost worlds from the past. Each time you restore one, it reappears in the present, expanding your map piece by piece. It's a brilliant concept, but it means the game starts slow. Like very slow. It can take hours before your first real battle, and dozens more before you feel any sense of momentum. Yet that deliberate pace is what makes it so distinct. Mechanically, it sticks to the series' traditional turn-based structure, but with a twist. Its class system allows you to train characters in dozens of jobs, unlocking hybrid classes and advanced abilities through relentless grinding. Progress is slow but deeply satisfying. The sheer scale of content borders on absurd. There are hundreds of quests, side stories, and character arcs, each adding new layers to its world. But the difficulty lies in how much the game demands from you mentally. Keeping track of storylines, towns, and timelines across two worlds is its own puzzle. It's easy to lose your way. Visually, it uses simple 3D environments and charming 2D sprites, but don't let the cute art fool you. This is a marathon disguised as a fairy tale. For those who endure, though, few RPGs feel as grand or satisfying. DQ7 is hard because it expects something from you. Patience, curiosity, and faith in the journey.